What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with Astrodfs DFS, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video going over Week 7's XFL slate. This one is going to be interesting. We got some really good matchups this week as well. So let's take a look. So Ben DiNucci continues to rise in price, almost at 12,000. AJ McCarron up there as well, 11-1. It seems like the more established players, especially at the quarterback position, are rising in price. This week we got some interesting quarterback situations though. So Ben DiNucci 11-8, AJ McCarron 11-1, both rough matchups, or I won't say rough, I say tough matchups. McCarron going against Houston at Houston, Ben DiNucci against Arlington. I'm not as worried about Ben DiNucci, though, as I am AJ McCarron, even though AJ McCarron's been solid. And, I mean, you look at his numbers, probably one of the more consistent good quarterbacks in the XFL by far. Brandon Silver's at 10-3. Definitely watching the practice news coming out of Houston because Cole McDonald at 8-4 can easily be the starting quarterback. You see last week his numbers there. Trying to lead Houston to a comeback. Houston's defense just couldn't stop DC's offense. But if Cole McDonald ends up being the starter for 8,400, that's not a bad price, especially going against St. Louis's defense. The big news here is you can see Luis Perez, 8,800 is no longer on the Vegas Vipers. He is now a Renegade, which is interesting because one of the things I've mentioned and I continue to mention all season, and nothing has changed until now, is they have a quarterback. We've seen Luis Perez look very good on Vegas. We've seen times he hasn't looked good either. But as far as Arlington quarterbacks, Kyle Slaughter got released. We'll probably hear more about it. It just sounds like the whole situation of turning on the coaching staff, and they got rid of him. So Luis Perez gets traded to Arlington. I would imagine he's their starting quarterback. They're going to need some offensive growth here. Going against Seattle is rough, don't get me wrong, and being on a new team. But it is better than the quarterback play they've had. So that means Brent Hundley is starting now. And 9,400 against San Antonio, another rougher matchup, I'd say. Especially for Brent Hundley, but being a mobile quarterback at the same time does help. And then Jordan Ta'amu, very solid, playing very, very solid football right now. 8,500 against Orlando. It's a good price. Very good matchup for him. I don't mind that. The price, it's not bad at all. And then Quentin Dormandy here at 8,000 against DC. That is a rough one there. Definitely. And on the San Antonio side, Jack Cohen, we're watching the injury news for him. I would imagine they go with Kurt Benkert. Obviously, they got him for a reason. He will definitely have some practice time this week instead of 2 days to practice, basically. And a favorable matchup for that San Antonio offense. So, Benkert starting at 6,000, I think that's a steal against that Vegas defense. Running backs, Abram Smith, 9,600 against Orlando. That is a good matchup and still a good price for Abram Smith. Brian Hill, 9,400. It's a rough matchup for him, but I continue to say if you look at Brian Hill's stats, it's not just the running game where he gets all his points. By all means, he's had some good games lately. But that receiving aspect is also why Brian Hill is a good running back to get. Max Borghi at 8,900 here. I really like that price and matchup for him against St. Louis. Devin Smith here at 7,800 against Seattle. I don't mind that, especially with a new quarterback. Morgan Allison banged up last week against Arlington. This week, I really hope he's healthy. He's a very good running back to watch and play. So 7,000 if he's in. If not, we're looking at someone like TJ Hammonds. We'll mention him shortly. Rod Smith against San Antonio. Look at Rod Smith's numbers, and I mean, it's the 2 touchdown game, which was 12 out of his 21 points against Orlando. I just don't love that against San Antonio. Probably going to go, if I were to target a Vegas running back, John Lovett's probably one of the names, or Torrey. Bradwell against Arlington. If Ellison's out, I still don't really like Bradwell all that much. He hasn't impressed me at all. Jermaine Martin losing the running back position. I think he's lost it at this point. But that means Devin Darrington here at 4,800. I mean, you look at what he did last week against Seattle. Impressive. Granted, same thing as we mentioned before, but he gets 82 yards, a reception, and 13 receiving yards. But the 2 touchdowns definitely help him out. But it's the price tag for me. 4,800 for a running back going against a good defense. So that is the worrisome part. But if you're just looking for a price type of thing, that's something to watch out for. But Jaquez Patrick at 5,700 still. This is ridiculous to me. You see him last week against Arlington, and he gets 82 yards, 3 receptions, 18. So 100 in total, plus the 3 receptions. And now he goes against Vegas, and he's only 5,700. I think, again, he becomes the play that we're looking at this week. 5,700 allows you to pay up for some of these receivers. Jakir Pearson, 11.5 at Arlington. Still like it. Number 1 wide receiver in the XFL. Keem Butler against Houston. I don't know if I want to take St. Louis' side. They have not really let me down. But that receiving core looks really good with Darius Shepard stepping up. Jeff Badette against San Antonio, 10-3. I like that. A rough matchup. San Antonio's got a good defense, but still like Jeff Badette. Josh Gordon, I don't know what's going on in all reality. No yardage last week. No receptions last week. His last 2 games, 2 receptions for 15 yards. You combine the last 3, 7 receptions for 72 yards in 3 games for Josh Gordon. Obviously, something is going on right now with Josh Gordon in that Seattle offense. Blake Jackson, some of the lower price guys stepping up. But Josh Gordon at 10-1 is going to turn into a fade for me until we see him get included. I don't know what's going on. Dante Burnett here at 9-7. Yes. Good game against DC. Fortunately, it wasn't enough. But 9-7. I'm okay this week of paying that 9-7 price tag versus last week. Blake Jackson mentioned stepping up, facing a good defense, but I like the Seattle offense in that matchup. Landon Akers, 8,400. I really like that price tag and matchup for him. Darius Shepard, same thing, 8,300. He's emerging. He's having a very good year, especially as of late. But that 8,300 price tag is definitely worth paying. Charleston Rambo, I mentioned he's getting the usage he should have gotten. They got a quarterback that can actually kind of drive the ball down the field efficiently. But very rough matchup against DC. But if someone's going to have a good game other than Cody Latimer, his teammate right here at 8,000 as well, Charleston Rambo. So both those guys I'm okay with paying. Obviously, if DC does what they do, they're going to run up the score. Orlando's going to pass the ball. That's kind of where you get those points coming from, those Orlando skill positions. Martavis Bryant, Geronimo Allison knows for me. Sal Cannella down at 7,000 with Luis Perez as his quarterback. I like that. His price goes down, but he's still a hell of a tight end for this league. Austin Pearl, 7,000. Just with Darius Shepard, I mentioned in the beginning of the year, he looked like a very solid receiver. But with Darius Shepard emerging as a kind of more explosive receiver, Austin Pearl has kind of stepped back and just been like a third down receiver pretty much just to get that first down. But they're using Keem Butler a lot more as well. So that is worrisome for Austin Pearl. Travell Harris at 6,600. Good price tag for him. I like that. Lucky Jackson is another name. 6,200. Had a hell of a game. I mentioned he's the DC number 1 wide receiver for me. 5 for 136 and a touchdown. Had a crazy good game. Gets Orlando. Love it. Cedric Bird down here. 5,300. Like that. Chris Blair, 4,700 against Orlando. I like that. Tyler Vaughns, 4,600 against Seattle. It's rougher, but I do like it. Juwan Green, mentioned 4,200 is a price tag save. Jordan Vesey, another one. TJ Basher for San Antonio down here at 3,400. I think could be a good tournament play. Looking at it. Ben Putnam. Putman, sorry. 3,300 as well. Defenses. DC, 5,000 against Orlando. I might have to pay up for it. They have Arlington all the way up there as well. St. Louis. I like Houston's defense again this week. Like, 0 points against DC. 1 sack. That was crazy. Crazy. Like, I don't know what it is with Houston. But if you watch that game, it just seemed like the middle of the field was open all game. All game for DC to pass. Like, there was always someone open right in the middle of the field. But against St. Louis, their poor offensive line allows Houston to get some sacks and stuff like that, especially being home after being on the road streak they've been on is a huge advantage in my opinion. San Antonio, 4,000 against Vegas. I like that. Seattle, 3,900 against Arlington. I'm okay with that. But I'd say San Antonio is probably the cheapest defense that I'd look at right now. So I hope you guys did enjoy the video. If you guys are looking for some early bets and early leans to take, I had that video posted yesterday. Go check that out. And I hope you guys enjoy all the content. I'll see you in the next one.